So it's quite apparent that Benz didn't learn their lesson from the failing primer and paint on the instrument clusters from the 124 and earlier days. The 210 has the same issue, but nevertheless, this is a job I've always wanted to tackle, and considering 210 clusters are a dime a dozen, I decided to pull mine apart and strip all of that god-awful paint out of there and see what I could do with it. So this is what it looked like after about half a day of cleaning the paint out of there. And then I used some plastic primer. This is what I used here. It just comes in an aerosol can. And it is actually a bit of a filler as well. So if you've got scratches, you can actually deal with them by sanding it out after the first few coats. I didn't really have any scratches to deal with. There was some remnants of paint that I missed removing, and it's done a pretty reasonable job of hiding that. And this is what it looks like with the acrylic top coat that I chose. It is a matte black. It's not quite as matte as I had hoped it to be, so it's slightly shiny. You don't really want it to be shiny because it's just going to cause distraction. But nonetheless, it looks a hell of a lot better than it did before. No more dreaded dot disease. So unfortunately, you do have to remove the indicator green filters. It involves breaking off little plastic tabs that hold them in there. Otherwise, you're going to get spray on those. So I'm just using windscreen sealant around the edges to hold those in. When that dries, that's never coming out ever again. Unfortunately, that's a bit of a compromise, not really a choice in the matter. If you don't want paint on those, they have to come out. I'm not sure of any other way of doing that, but that should be quite passable. So that's how it's looking now. I will allow this to harden fully overnight before I put the front lens on. And I'm just going to use the windscreen sealant around the edge. I'm not going to do a continuous bead just in case I ever need to take this off. I'll just put it in strategic locations so it holds it on there properly. But yeah, that looks so much better than it did before. Yes, I know it's not as good as a new one, but hey, it's better than it was. And that's the main thing. How good would a 124 look with this kind of treatment? I have not tried that because I don't have a spare one that's worth refurbishing, and I don't want to risk my own two. I actually need one to experiment with. The one that I've got spare already has a cracked lens, so it's kind of a waste of time. Yeah, so if I do get my hands on one, I will try a 124 version as well. Yeah, I'll make sure this has all decent bulbs in there before I put it back in the car. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with that job. I'm not quite an artistic person, but I think I did a reasonable job, even if I do say so myself. So this is Red's original cluster. It's basically the same construction. You've got this plastic lens at the front, and that is glued around the perimeter. 124 glue is a bit more serious than the 210 glue because I've not had such success removing these. This one's already cracked, so I haven't bothered playing with it. But yeah, allegedly you need to heat the entire perimeter slowly with hot air until that glue softens up, and then hopefully you can remove that lens without destroying it. And that's the hardest part of the job. The rest of it's pretty straightforward.